A very happy day to all of you from Hidden Life Forms. You have heard about the Cold War between the USA and the Soviet Union. As a response to this, not only did technology evolve, but it also gave birth to new technologies that could change people's lives. Today, at Hidden Life Forms, we would like to tell you about a story about a Soviet spaceship that lost its life in the Cold War. It's a story from history. That's why we invited Ranjana today, because she was asked to come to the Soviet Union because she lost her spaceship. What happened? Who was she? What did she have to do with it? Today we will tell you about all of this. You will be able to find out in great detail. Today we would like to invite you to watch the video from the end of this video. The history of mankind's success in space began on October 4th, 1957. It was the first satellite in the Soviet Union to launch the Sputnik 1. As a counterattack, United States America launched his first satellite, the Explorer 1, in 1958. These two satellites had a great impact on mankind's success in space. In particular, the Sputnik 1 was used to calculate the density of the atmosphere and to find out the temperature. The Explorer 1 was used to find out the temperature of the Earth's solar cells, called Van Allen cells. The Laika satellite died due to overtemperature and vigilance. In 1960, Belka and Strelka were two Soviet space dogs who went into space aboard Sputnik 5 in 1960. They were part of the Soviet Union's early space program and are known for being the first living creatures to return safely from orbit. Yuri Gagarin was launched aboard Vostok 1 on April 12, 1961. Gagarin became the first human to orbit the Earth. After 23 days, Explorer 1 went to space, and Alan Shepard became the first American in space. In June 1963, Vostok 6 went to space, carrying the first woman, Valentina Tereshkova. Thus, Explorer 1 and the Soviet Union's Vostok 6 went to space in the same period. During this time, we are going to tell you a story that is also very interesting. Achille and Giovanni Battista were two radio scientists who lived in Italy. Both of them had the ability to conduct radio experiments and study space communications. Let me explain. These two scientists had the opportunity to study the transmissions from Sputnik 1 and other Soviet space missions. Achille was born in 1933, and Giovanni was born in 1939. So, in 1960, these two scientists were in their late 20s. They had a special room where they could study radio signals. In this room, they could study signals from Sputnik 1, Explorer 1, and other space programs. The story is about how these two scientists became inspired to study radio communications from space. During this time, they were able to study some of the unsuccessful transmissions, as by 1960, some Soviet space missions had failed. They had the opportunity to analyze some of these unsuccessful radio signals from the Soviet Union's early missions. Over the course of several years, they were able to study many of the most significant space programs. One of the key events in their research occurred in 1961, when a mysterious citizen from the city of Gagana, possibly a fictional reference, reportedly came to Russia and sought help in controlling a capsule. Then, in 1961, the city of Gagana was said to have faced an emergency related to space exploration. In April 1961, the first human spaceflight occurred with Yuri Gagarin aboard Vostok 1, which orbited the Earth. While there were some unknowns surrounding the capsule's mission, it marked a significant moment in space exploration history. In November 1962, however, there were reports of a capsule being lost. Then, in June 1963, the Soviet Union conducted a significant space mission involving Vostok 6, which carried Valentina Tereshkova, the first woman in space. This mission was an important milestone and was broadcast in Russian. The Soviet Union was actively studying radio transmissions from various space missions. In June 1963, one of the key programs under study was related to Soviet space exploration and the mystery surrounding early space programs. Achille and Giovanni's plan was to work with the Soviet Union to assist in studying these transmissions, but complications arose, especially when they found themselves dealing with espionage. It was a time of significant political tension during the Cold War, and the Soviet Union was concerned about spies and sabotage within its ranks. This period of Soviet space exploration became one of the most important and controversial chapters of the 1960s. As the space race continued, it shaped much of the Cold War-era politics. In 1964, there were reports of espionage activities involving the Soviet Union's space program, but the details remain unclear. The Mir space station, launched much later in 1986, became one of the most prominent symbols of Soviet and Russian space efforts. The impact of these early space missions, espionage concerns, and political tension continued to influence global relations throughout the Cold War. The mysteries of those early space programs and the secrecy surrounding them still raise questions to this day. In 2008, as new revelations about espionage and the Cold War era surfaced, the significance of these historical events gained even more attention.